Hello everyone, another advanced vocabulary video for you today. In fact, I'm continuing with the lexical chunks series. So as you know, if you watched my previous videos, for me that's the best way to learn vocabulary at an advanced level, so in chunks rather than individual words. And in my last video, I kind of gave an introduction to binomials. Now, if you remember, a binomial is a fixed phrase consisting of two words, usually linked by a conjunction, but in a set sequence, so you can't change the order of the words. So I'll leave a link to that video somewhere up here in case you want to watch it, or if you're watching on TV, I don't think you can get that link, so I'll put it in the description to this video. But yeah, binomials are very common and very useful to learn if you're trying to reach that advanced level of English. And as I explained in my last video, there are different types of binomials. But in this video, I'm looking at alliteration binomials. So that's where each word, each component word of the binomial starts with the same sound. So usually it's the same letter, but really what we're focusing on is the same sound. And if you're planning on taking a Cambridge English exam, as many of you are, you're going to find these binomials very useful. So the first one is live and learn. So we have the L sound at the beginning of each word. That's why it's alliteration. It's the same sound at the beginning of each word. And we use live and learn to express the idea that from real experience, so the living, we gain knowledge. So learning. So live and learn, experience and knowledge. So the example, I was a victim of an online scam in which I was tricked into sending money to a Nigerian prince. You live and learn. In this case, I'm recognizing that I was tricked, this was a mistake, but I learned from the experience. So that was the experience, being scammed, but now I've learned, so I won't do that again. You know, you live and learn. From these experiences, you learn. Okay, the next one, safe and sound, safe and sound. And this means unharmed and out of danger. So perhaps you've been in a potentially dangerous situation, but now you're expressing the idea that now you're okay. But sound here in this binomial is not referring to noise, like what you hear. That's not the meaning of sound. It's a different meaning. What sound means here is in a good condition. So if something is good, sort of well made or in good condition, then it's sound. But if we're referring to people, then it's basically unharmed, you know, in good condition. You know, after maybe a dangerous situation, I'm safe and sound, I'm in good condition, I'm unharmed and out of danger. So the example sentence, Nick always sends his mum a text message to let her know he's arrived safe and sound after a long trip. So that's one of the most common uses of safe and sound, really, on a day-to-day basis. It's just letting someone know that you've arrived unharmed and out of danger after a long trip. I mean, I'm thinking of a car drive, probably, where, you know, it's possible to have accidents, but if you've arrived safe and sound, then your mum can sleep well at night. And the next alliteration binomial is do or die. And this really means kind of all or nothing. It's kind of a similar way of expressing this idea, but more specifically, it's a situation in which extreme effort or risk is required. So when there's nothing else to do, it's do or die. It's like, it's really extreme. There's no other alternative. Again, the example will help you understand this one. This is my last chance to pass the exam. It really is do or die. So perhaps this person has taken the exam a few times before and they've failed. And this is it. This is the last opportunity. It's got to this extreme moment. So either they pass the exam or that's it. They're never going to take it again. So it's do or die. Very extreme. And the next one's a nice one. It's bright and breezy. Bright and breezy. So you have the bright and breezy. And this means kind of sort of awake and cheerful and positive and full of energy. So it's nice if you're bright and breezy. If you're feeling bright and breezy, then you're ready to face the day. And we often use it in the morning. You know, when you wake up, sometimes you wake up bright and breezy and sometimes not so full of energy. But the example is related to that. When I wake up bright and breezy, I like to go for a long walk with my dog in the countryside. So when I wake up bright and breezy, full of energy and ready to face the day, then I go for a long walk with my dog in the countryside. But if not, then perhaps I wouldn't. And the next binomial is tried and tested. Tried and tested. This one's a little bit more technical, but it's used to refer to something that has been successfully used long enough to know that it works. So it's not just a theory, in somebody's mind, it's been used in real life, in practical use. So the example, the strategies I recommend for passing the Cambridge English exams are tried and tested based on many years of experience. So these strategies, these tips that I give on how to pass the Cambridge English exams are not just something that I've invented in my head, like theories. No, they are based on experience that I've seen with my students over the years, what has worked for them. So they are tried and tested. I mean, you could argue that these are kind of synonyms. I could have put this in the synonym category of binomials, but also because they have the alliteration, the t sound, I've decided to put them in this list of binomials. And the next binomial is dribs and drabs. Dribs and drabs. So again, it's quite nice to say, dribs and drabs. So now we're getting into quite advanced binomials. But this means in small amounts over quite a long period of time. So the example, since we opened the shop last week, customers have been coming in dribs and drabs, but we expect a more constant flow in the future. So this is a new shop, it's just been opened and the customers are coming, but they're not all coming at the same time. It's just in small amounts over a long period of time. So maybe over the day there are a few customers, but this shop owner is hopeful that in the future there'll be a more constant flow. So the customers won't be coming in dribs and drabs. And the next one is quite a funny one. It's rant and rave, to rant and rave. So it's used as a verb. And it means to complain loudly and angrily in a kind of uncontrolled way. So if someone rants and raves about something, they're really angry and they're loud and they lose control of themselves a little bit. So the example, my neighbour is always ranting and raving about the traffic situation in our street. So everyone has a neighbour like this, right? Someone who's always complaining, but not just complaining in a civilized, quiet way. No, they're ranting and raving, so they're sort of loudly expressing their anger to anyone who will listen in kind of an uncontrolled way. And the next one is rhyme or reason. Usually used in a negative, so we'd say no rhyme or reason. And we use it when something has no logical explanation. It just seems a bit strange or not quite right. It makes no sense. So the example, the acting was flawless, but the plot had no rhyme or reason and left me perplexed. This is like for a review of a film. So in your Cambridge English exam, you may have to write a film review. So you're saying that the acting was flawless, so it's excellent, the acting was excellent, or basically perfect, but the plot had no rhyme or reason. It didn't make sense, it was illogical, and it left me perplexed. So perplexed is like very confused. Now, all the binomials I've taught up until now have been linked by a conjunction, either and or. And if you look at a technical definition of a binomial, often it's considered that a binomial must be linked by a conjunction, so and or. But I think there are many binomials which are not linked by conjunctions. So whether these next two are technically binomials or not, it's open to debate, but I think it doesn't really matter. They're useful and interesting and they are worth learning. So the next one is chit-chat. So chit-chat. We don't say chit and chat or chit or chat, it's just chit-chat. And again, it's the chit-ch, the alliteration. And chit-chat is a noun, and it really just means informal or casual conversation. It's like small talk, basically. You may be familiar with the expression small talk. So when people talk about something and have a conversation about something that's not really important, it's just general chit-chat. So the example, our boss doesn't like chit-chat during working hours, so we have to wait until lunchtime. So maybe you've been in this situation where you get on really well with your colleagues, right? And you like to have some chit-chat during the working day. It helps the time pass more quickly. But this boss doesn't like that. No, it's only out of working hours, so lunchtime or after work. And the last binomial is onomatopoeic, which means the words are formed by the sound that they represent. So you're probably familiar with onomatopoeia. But this one is pitter-patter, which is, again, really nice to say, isn't it? Pitter-patter. And this refers to a sound, and usually the sound of raindrops on a surface. It can also sometimes refer to little feet moving, like a bird's feet or mice, little feet moving on a surface. But as I said, it's most common when referring to raindrops. So the example, the best thing about camping is hearing the pitter-patter of rain on the tent while you're dry and warm inside. So if anyone's been camping in a tent and it's rained, you've probably had that experience. I love it. You're all nice and dry, but you hear the pitter-patter on the surface of the tent. If you haven't had that experience, then I recommend you go camping in England. It's inevitable. You're gonna get some rain. Okay, so those are the 10 binomials. Come up with your own examples. Write them in the comments if you like. Share them, and you can read other people's examples there. Use it or lose it, as I always say. And I'll see you very soon for another video.